Hello and welcome. As a hotel AI expert, I'm pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. Today, we're diving into the art of listening. Now, if you're in hospitality, you know that understanding your guests is, well, it's everything, right? But what does that really mean in today's modern hotel industry? We're going to go way beyond the basics to give you the practical tools you'll actually need to succeed out there.
Look, our goal here is pretty simple. We want to bridge that gap between what you learn in the classroom and what happens in real-world hotel operations. We're going to explore the practices that are shaping the industry right now. So you're not just walking away with concepts, but with real practical tools you can use to excel from day one. All right, let's jump in.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to cover 5 key areas. First, we'll talk about getting beyond our assumptions. Then, and this is a big one, we'll unpack the difference between satisfaction and real loyalty. After that, we'll get into how to measure both the what and the why, the numbers and the feelings. We'll see why consistency is your secret weapon, and finally, we'll put it all together and talk about how to turn all this data into actual, lasting relationships with your guests.
Okay, first up, moving beyond assumptions. This sounds so simple, right? But in the crazy, fast-paced world of hospitality, it is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking we just know what our guests want. But here's the thing. Great management isn't about guesswork. It's built on solid evidence. That's the professional standard we should all be aiming for.
Just think about it for a second. Without real data, you're basically flying blind. You could end up spending thousands on a fancy new spa treatment that, honestly, guests couldn't care less about, all while you're completely missing that the slow Wi-Fi is the real reason they're not coming back. Relying on assumptions, it's not just a risk, it's pretty much a recipe for failure in the market we're in today.
All right, let's tackle something that is absolutely critical for any kind of long-term success, and that's the difference between satisfaction and loyalty. Now, I know they sound kind of similar, but really getting this distinction, that is the key to unlocking sustainable growth. It's the difference between a guest who just, enjoyed their stay and a guest who's going to choose you for life.
And this slide really frames it perfectly. Take a look. On one side, you've got satisfaction. Think of it like a single happy photo from a really great meal. It's just a snapshot, right? A moment in time. But then you look at loyalty. That's the entire photo album. It's filled with memories from visit after visit. It's the whole story, a story built on trust and connection over the long haul.
So let's just zoom in on satisfaction for a minute. Imagine a guest has a fantastic dinner, their check-in was totally seamless, the room is spotless. In that specific moment, yeah, they are satisfied. And that's a great feeling. But it's often temporary and it's tied directly to that one single transaction.
Loyalty, though, that's the long game. That's the guest who comes back for their anniversary every single year. The one who's telling all their friends, you have to stay here. They might even forgive a small mistake like a delayed room service order. Why? Because you've built up so much trust with them over time. It's a real, genuine emotional investment. And this quote right here, it just nails it. A guest can be perfectly 100% satisfied with their stay and still book with your competitor next time just because they got offered a better deal. See, satisfaction is fragile. Loyalty is your shield. And this is exactly why just chasing high satisfaction scores isn't enough. It's just not going to guarantee your future revenue.
Okay, so if our big goal is to build loyalty, then the next logical question is, how do we actually measure it? Well, it's not just one thing. It takes a balanced toolkit. We have to understand not only what our guests are doing, but maybe even more importantly, why they're doing it.
Let's start with the what. This is your quantitative data. We're talking hard numbers, the stuff that tracks what guests are really doing. This isn't about what people might say they'll do in a survey. Nope. This is the cold, hard evidence of their actual behavior. And we track this with just a few key metrics. You just need to ask, how often are our guests coming back? What's the average length of their relationship with our brand? And here's the big one. What's our retention rate? What percentage of guests are we actually keeping year after year? You put these numbers together, and they start to paint a really clear picture of loyalty in action.
And a chart like this one? This is absolute gold for any manager. When you see your retention rate climb steadily, say from 65% up to 78% over 3 years, that is concrete proof that whatever you're doing, your loyalty strategies, they're working. It's such a powerful signal that the business is healthy and getting stronger.
But, and this is a big but, there's a catch.
The numbers alone don't tell the whole story. That rising retention rate is fantastic, for sure, but it doesn't tell us why it's rising. What exactly are we doing right? To really understand the emotions and the motivations behind these numbers, we've got to dig a little deeper. And that, right there, brings us to the why. This is the qualitative side of the whole equation. This is where we stop counting things and we start actually listening. It's how we uncover all those feelings, those perceptions, the personal stories that really give the numbers their meaning.
And you know what? These insights are everywhere if you just look for them. They're in online reviews, they're in the comment boxes on your feedback forms, and honestly, the most powerful place is in those genuine, face-to-face conversations with your guests. That's where you hear the little details, the stuff that will never, ever show up on a spreadsheet.
Okay, so having the right tools is one thing, but how you use them, that's a whole different ballgame. A single survey, a quarterly report, that just gives you a snapshot, a single picture. But to really, truly understand the guest relationship, you need the whole movie. And that means you have to be measuring consistently over time, so you can see the entire story unfold. This timeline right here shows you exactly why this is so critical. So let's just imagine you launch a new check-in policy in January, okay? February, March, everything looks good. The satisfaction scores are fine. But then, boom, in April, the scores suddenly dip. Now, because you were tracking consistently, you spot this trend right away. You can investigate immediately instead of waiting months for some disastrous end-of-quarter report to tell you something went wrong. And, of course, how you ask for this feedback is just as important as what you ask. Let's be real, nobody wants to fill out a 30-minute survey after a long trip. So keep it short, be respectful of their time. But the most critical step, the one people always forget, is closing the loop. You have to show guests that their feedback actually led to a change. When they see their idea in action, you create this incredible, powerful cycle of trust. And all of this leads us to our final, and I would argue, our most important point. The whole goal of all this measurement, it's not to create a bunch of fancy charts for a presentation. The goal is to turn those insights into real action, and then to use that action to build stronger, more meaningful relationships with every single guest that walks through your doors. So the path to loyalty, when you break it down, is really a clear 4-step process. 1. Measure consistently. 2. Train your team so they feel empowered to act on what you learn. 3. Communicate the improvements back to your guests. Close that loop. And 4. Strengthen trust. Every time you go through this cycle, you're just making that foundation of trust where real loyalty is built even stronger. And this part is so key. For any of this to actually work, your whole organization has to see measurement as a tool for learning, not as a tool for judgment. This isn't about catching people making mistakes, it's about finding opportunities where we can all improve. Once your entire team adopts that mindset, all the data you collect becomes infinitely more valuable. So there you have it. We've walked through the entire framework. You now have the tools to stop guessing and to start really listening, to hear what your guests are telling you, both with their wallets and with their words. So the final question really isn't about data at all. It's about action. You're going to have the insights. The real question is, how will you earn their loyalty?